This is going to be an appreciation video for the Fairly OddParents, because nowadays when you stumble upon a new popular video about this cartoon, the topic that is discussed is how poorly the series ended. We all know the story. I don't think I need to go over it again. I've already made a video in the past covering that. Though, something I find hilarious is just as I'm working on this video, I find out that for some reason, there's a new Fairly OddParents live action reboot that was recently released. I haven't watched it, and I guess I shouldn't knock it till I try it, but I'm just going to go out on a limb and say I don't think this was a very good way to revive the series. I swear the show just can't catch a break. It's a shame because the Fairly OddParents was such a brilliant show back in the early seasons. Believe it or not, there are tons of hidden gems in this cartoon with life-changing lessons that I believe deserve more attention. The show is all about a kid instantly getting what he wants. If there's anything these episodes demonstrate, it's that getting what you want isn't all rainbows and butterflies. The first episode that I think deserves more attention is the first episode of the series, The Big Problem. This episode is about Timmy wishing that he was older because he thinks being a kid is lame. He's tired of his babysitter Vicky abusing him, getting bullied at school, and being too young to see adult movies with his parents. He daydreams about how amazing he thinks being an adult would be, then Cosmo and Wanda answer his prayer. Little does Timmy know, this wish will end up being the worst mistake he ever made in his life. The first problem he notices is he doesn't look how he expected whatsoever. Everyone who has watched this show knows it's all fun and games until Wanda says,
"Sorry, Timmy. According to the rules..."
The issue is, Timmy's fairies can only grant wishes to kids, so he basically screwed himself. He wasn't specific enough about what he wanted, which is a problem that occurs frequently throughout the show. Though in his defense, I'm not sure why his fairies didn't warn him about this wish before they granted it. As you're about to see, this is a pretty dangerous wish that's going to cost him pretty much everything he has. Now that I think about it, for a first episode, it's pretty dark. Basically, in every situation that he believed being an adult would be beneficial, the exact opposite happens to him. He gets pepper sprayed by a woman for talking to her, the movie is too mature for him to handle, he learns that shaving isn't fun, he finds out he actually has to pay for the food he eats at a restaurant, Vicky flat out karate kicks his ass, he's forced to sleep outside, he gets thrown in jail for being too creepy, and his fairies are forced to leave because he's not a kid anymore. Yikes. So then he has a complete meltdown about how miserable this experience for him has been. Luckily, by acting like a kid, it gives him the power to wish himself back into a literal kid again. I don't know, rulebook logic. Thanks to this experience, Timmy learns the valuable lesson that being a kid is actually awesome.
Being a kid rocks! I'd rather be a shrimp than a hairy prisoner any day.
Hey, me too!
The point of this episode isn't that being an adult stinks. The point is, Timmy wasn't ready for adult life. I believe this episode is trying to say to appreciate the present moment you are in, no matter how old you are. You don't know what you have until it's gone. So the next episode I want to talk about is one of my favorite episodes in the series. In A Wish Too Far, Timmy has a crush on this girl, Trixie Tang. Apparently, she's the most popular girl in his school, which is somehow supposed to increase her value, when really she's a bland personality who only gets special treatment from people because she's pretty. She literally disrespects Timmy by calling him an empty bus seat.
Hey, Trixie. Hello, empty bus seat. Darn it, why doesn't she like me?
Even though my guy Timmy may be a simp, in all fairness, he's only 10 years old. At that age, it's easy to buy into this ridiculous idea that the goal of life is to chase after the prettiest girl you see, regardless of her personality. But still, the general point still stands. Life isn't all about getting validation from pretty people. And it's not like he has no one to talk to or no one that loves him. His friends love him, his parents love him, and his fairies make sure to show him that they love him. Now, you could argue a romantic desire is different, and I would agree with you. However, there is a trap you can fall into when you treat a specific person that you don't even know that well like they're God. What's so special about Trixie? Why does her validation matter so much?
I know you've had a crush on me, and I was wondering if you wouldn't mind going steady, taking you to a dance, being sweethearts through high school, going to college together, getting married, remaining deeply in love as we go really old together and spend our golden years traveling the world and extending our lifespans with the advanced technology that will be available in the future until we eventually crumble into atoms and we're scattered across the cosmos where we'll float together for all eternity? No.
As the story continues, since Timmy thinks the goal of life is to be validated by quote-unquote popular kids, he wishes that he was popular.
But you'd be making friends for the wrong reasons.
So?
Wow, you can't beat that logic.
The wish does give him fancy new clothes, more respect from the cool kids at school, and even Trixie's approval. But at what cost? He loses his friends and develops this egotistical, selfish personality where he thinks everyone has to bow down to him and he doesn't have to say thank you to anyone anymore. Just as the name of this episode implies, this wish goes too far, and as a result, he gets sued by Fairy World for his actions.
Is it true over the last few days you wish for new clothes, jewels, and a new house in order to obtain new friends?
Yes.
After bestowing all these wonderful things upon you, did you ever once thank your fairy godparents?
No.
Timmy let his ego get the better of him. He was convinced of this lie told by a few rotten kids at his school that everyone should bow down to his status and his coolness, but instead he's the one being humbled. Which is why when he makes it back to his house, he immediately confesses to his friends that he's been faking everything in order to get people to like him.
I want friends who like me for who I am, not what I have. I'm sorry I didn't figure that out earlier.
All of his fake friends dip on the spot, but he does gain back the respect of his real friends. Surprisingly, Trixie gives him a kiss for his honesty. Maybe she does have a heart after all. At the end, Timmy thanks the real MVPs Cosmo and Wanda for their loyalty by throwing a party for them. Now, everyone who has grown up with this show has seen this next episode. I'll give you a hint, it features one of the most popular songs in the series.
Icky Vicky, Icky Vicky, Icky Vicky.
The episode, The Boys in the Band, takes place on Timmy's birthday. For some reason, his very own parents forget about it. Instead, they're more fascinated by famous celebrity Chip Skylark's concert. Apparently, this concert is the most important thing in this universe. Everyone knows about it like he's the Michael Jackson of this world, or something. It's even on the news. Timmy gets jealous of Chip's success, so he wishes something very bad would happen to him. However,
According to the rules,
he isn't allowed to kill him, which is what he would have done because he's psycho. So instead, he wishes that the worst possible non-lethal thing would happen to him. Apparently, that means being stuck in the house with the very dude who wished bad juju upon you. Timmy complains to Chip that everyone forgot it was his birthday, and it's all his fault. But then is shocked when he later finds out he's actually not that bad of a person. He's even able to relate to him in many ways.
wow, I thought Chip would be a big jerk because he's a big star. But he's not such a bad guy after all.
This scene gets me thinking about how often we get people wrong. There have been many times in my life where I've made an unkind assumption about someone, and that person ended up being one of the coolest people I've ever met. How often has someone given you a bad rep when you know you're not a bad person? You know it's all lies. You know you did nothing to deserve the disrespect. This happens all the time. So then Timmy wishes Chip to be free, but the problem is Vicky loves Skylark with all her heart, so
According to the rules,
they can't do anything. Chip then reveals he is not actually rich. However, if his fans knew that, they wouldn't love him anymore. I find this part of the episode interesting because idolatry is a real thing that exists. Do we love these celebrities for who they are or for who we think they are? Vicky has that same energy as Trixie. She only loves Chip for his money.
When Vicky finds out that Chip's not rich, she won't love him anymore.
Now, I'm not saying she's a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke nigga. So of course, she rejects Chip because he's not rich. They then roast Vicky with the song everybody knows. In conclusion, similar to A Wish Too Far, to love someone isn't about obsessing over their bank account. It isn't about their status, It isn't about their popularity. It goes beyond all that. It's about their character, their personality, their goodwill. And sometimes you can get that wrong with false assumptions. You can think you know the person because of the idea you have about them or because of the story somebody else tells, but that's not truth. To get to the truth, you have to actually spend time with the person. You have to let their words, actions, and relatability speak for itself. And by that, you'll know whether or not you have a friend that's actually going to last. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. I recommend rewatching these episodes. It's some of the best of what Fairly OddParents has to offer. I'm still crossing my fingers for a revival movie or series that actually does the franchise justice. But for now, we'll always have episodes like these to look back on. This was Made to Express. Thanks for watching.